We have a new pair of AirPods Max, and I've got lots of thoughts. Okay, a very quick history lesson. These are the OG AirPods Max. They came out in 2020 and they were one of the first products that really set this channel alight. I reviewed them several times and lots of people watched those videos. Thank you if you did. Then in 2024, I thought this happened last year, but it did happen at the end of 2024. We got an update. We got a USB-C and colour update to the original AirPods Max, but nothing else really changed. Now we have the AirPods Max 2, the official second generation of these headphones. And there are a fair few changes. On the face of it, apart from this striking orange colour, they look identical, don't they? It looks like the same product. It isn't at all. These are significantly different, and I think I can answer the question whether or not you should upgrade from the previous generation or the USB-C generation, and whether or not you should buy your first pair of AirPods Max now, because they are the same price. They're still expensive, and there's still lots of other stuff out there that you can compare these against. Lots to talk about. Before I do that though, just a very quick word from not a sponsor, because this video isn't sponsored, but we do have some fantastic brand partners who help me keep the lights on in this studio. One of those brand partners is Brain FM. Brain FM is basically an app for your iPhone that pipes music into your ears that makes you, well, it can make you more productive. It's not guaranteed, but for the last, I think it's nearly 4 years now, I cannot work without Brain FM, and we have a fantastic deal for you. Check that link out down below. And now, let's get into these. Right, so what has changed in the AirPods Max 2? Well, the first thing, and possibly the biggest thing, is the H2 chip. So H1 chip, H2 chip, that enables things like adaptive audio, conversation awareness, voice isolation, personalized volume, Siri interactions, live translation, shaking your head and nodding your head to say yes and no to telephone calls and notifications, camera remote, which I'll come on to in a second, and studio quality audio recording. I don't know if that is part of the H2 chip thing, but there's a lot of new smart features in these that you don't get in these. Also, new high dynamic range amplifiers, a rebuilt DSP, and re-engineered adaptive EQ algorithm type stuff as well. So they should sound better, they should have better noise cancelling, and they do have brand new smarts as well, which these didn't have, but interestingly, the AirPods Pro have had for a while. So these now come in line with the AirPods Pro in terms of ecosystem type stuff for Apple. They also have lossless audio at 24-bit 48 kilohertz over USB-C, which you can do on the USB-C version, but you can't do on the original Lightning version. What hasn't changed? The design. The exact same design, the exact same chassis, same weight, same case, same 20 hours of battery life with ANC turned on, same buttons to control them, no power button, and the same pricing. Let's get into the specifics. Design, comfort, case. This does feel a little bit like rehashing my previous reviews because they're identical to these in that regard. So let's do it very quickly. These are among the comfiest headphones I've ever placed on my head. They are heavy. They are 385 grams, which means they're heavier than a lot of the new headphones coming onto the market. But for me, that has never really been a problem. The only time you notice it really is if you lean forwards quite a lot or lean backwards quite a lot. At that point, they do start to move, but it's not a big deal, I don't think, because they do feel pretty light on your head. Glasses wearers, no problem at all. I know a lot of people ask about that. They work perfectly with glasses. If you don't have a huge amount of hair, like me, these are still the best headphones in terms of not sticking out from your head too much. If you don't have much hair, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's very important. When it comes to the actual design, they are still very, very pretty headphones. Very, very well made. Lovely extendable metal arms there. The only thing to mention is the canopy, which is very comfortable, but on the first generation, there has been an issue with it sagging over a number of years. I've not had that, interestingly, on the USB-C version. It's way too early, obviously, to test these for that. Hopefully, Apple has made that better and they've improved on it. These these ear cup things come off, so you can replace them as well. Apple still has the best controls in the headphone game because there's two of them and they're not touch sensitive. So we have the digital crown that you can twiddle like that and press, and we have a button there for the ANC. That's it. There's no power button, because when you put these into their pouch, they go into a low power state, and that low power state does give you very good battery life in my experience. In terms of the headphone case, I've learned over the last couple of years that I'm possibly one of very, very few people on this planet who really cares about headphone cases. Most people don't use them, from the sounds of it, from reading your comments. They just chuck them into their bag and they don't worry about them. That's why I think Apple went for this, because you do that and you don't really gain any extra weight or bulk. Whereas with a regular headphone case, which I do like, it's big, it's cumbersome. These, you just pop them in your bag and you're done. So I kind of get it. What else can I say about that? Ooh, camera control. If I pop the AirPods Max 2 on my head and pick up my iPhone and go into the camera app, I can now take a photo. It sets the timer, the 3 second timer, and takes a photo. You can do the same thing with video as well. I've not found a use case for it yet, but Apple has done this for a reason. There must be content creators or just people out there who find it easier to, take a photo with their headphones, possibly. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if that's something you would do. Another thing to note is the color choice here, the orange. Very interesting, I think. There are obviously other colors to choose from, and they're all very nice, to be fair. Anyway, that's the design side of things done. Let's talk about the sound. Do AirPods Max 2 sound better than the first generation and the USB-C version? These are the same, by the way. They sound identical. Yes, these sound better for two reasons. The first one is the mid-range, which is just more defined. So instrument separation, which basically means you can hear the guitars versus the trumpets versus the what. That was an interesting choice of two instruments. You can basically pick out things more on these headphones compared to the AirPods Max 1. That's very important because it means you can just get the detail of the production. It's lovely. It doesn't mean that these sounded bad. They don't at all. It's just an evolution. It's an improvement, and quite a big improvement over the original version. The top end stuff as well, the highs, they are very well defined. They're not fatiguing at all. Again, they weren't fatiguing on those, but they're just a bit more. If you go between the two, these just sound better. They sound clearer. They sound wider. The other thing, the second thing, is the bass response. This surprised me actually. When I went between these two headphones, the AirPods Max 2 have much more controlled bass, whether it be a bass part or particularly sub-bass. Sub-bass between these two headphones, these sound controlled. These sound a little bit uncontrolled and a bit flabbier, if that makes sense. So whatever Apple has done with the new amp, the rebuilt DSP, the H2 chip, if that's having an impact on this, the re-engineered adaptive EQ, it's working. These do sound better than these. The other thing we have is lossless audio over USB-C. So you do get a USB-C cable in the box, which is fantastic, which means you can plug your AirPods Max 2 straight into your iPhone like that, or your Mac or your iPad. And if you're listening to lossless music on Apple Music, you can hear the lossless music. It's fantastic. Does it sound different? It does a bit. It just sounds a bit wider, a bit clearer, but it's not night and day. This whole lossless versus AAC thing, it's getting harder to justify. However, the fact you can do this out of the box, and the fact that in doing that you know that you're getting the best possible audio from the source, is a good thing. And more people are doing this. I can guarantee you, just like myself, are seeing more people with headphone cables for some reason. But you can do this. You can do it on the USB-C version, but you can't do this on the Lightning version. So if you have the original AirPods Max, this is a relatively important update, I think. And combined with that better overall audio, this is a big update. Spatial audio, it is just as good as it has ever been. It's a nice problem for Apple to have here because they have always had, in my opinion, the best pair of spatial audio over-ear headphones, and it's the same case with these. I think they have improved it, so well, that can only be a good thing, can't it? If you're going to use these for watching movies, for watching TV shows, it's superb. But there's something else to talk about. Noise cancelling. I'm laughing because it's another really nice problem for Apple to have. The AirPods Max 1 were and still are among the best noise cancellers on the market, which means the 1.5 times better noise cancelling that Apple is advertising for the AirPods Max 2 is tricky to A/B test because they do sound, in terms of noise cancelling, better. Mid-range stuff, so things like trains and traffic noise and people talking, that kind of thing. The AirPods Max 2 definitely dampen that stuff a bit better. than the AirPods Max 1, but you do have to A/B test the two to figure that out. So again, it comes down to if you're upgrading from the first generation to the new generation, you will get better noise cancelling. Just don't expect it to be mind-blowingly better, because it won't be. It will just be better, and you can settle your mind with the fact that you have one of the best noise cancelling headphones on the market. In terms of how they compare against the other best noise cancelling headphones on the market, the Sony XM6, they are on par. To be completely honest with you, these two headphones they're battling it out in terms of noise cancelling, but they are neck and neck. They are slightly different. So the XM6 do dampen the world a little bit more, but the trade-off is that the noise cancelling is a bit more all-encompassing, so it feels a little bit more oppressive, whereas the noise cancelling on the AirPods Max 2, although it's a tiny, tiny bit less dampening than the XM6, you don't have that all-encompassing feeling, if that makes sense. But I'm talking fine margins here. The big thing for me is transparency mode, which is when I press that button and I can hear the world around me. I don't know what Apple does. I don't know who they've employed to make this possible, but they are still the best headphones on the market. Same thing with the AirPods Pro as well. When it comes to transparency mode, it doesn't feel like I've got a pair of headphones on. I can feel them, but it does not sound like I've got a pair of headphones on my head. I can hear myself perfectly. I can hear the ambiance of the room. I can hear traffic coming past. They are incredible for that. And if you use your headphones a lot for taking telephone calls, or you just want to be aware of your surroundings without having a horrible kind of hi-fi version of the world, just get these. They beat everything on the market. Is it better on these compared to these? Maybe a little bit, but not by much, because again, these were so good. But we must test these mics. Okay, first up we have the first generation AirPods Max. Lots of wind hitting the ear cups, cars going past. Very windy day actually. Again, transparency mode is very good. It's really, really good. I'll let you know what it's like compared to the latest generation in a second, but yeah, this is the mic on AirPods Max 1. And now onto the USB-C version, which is pretty much the same setup in terms of mics and all that stuff as the first generation. There might be some tweaks possibly. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. The wind has died down a little bit, to be fair, but I can't control the weather. Let's switch to the latest ones. And this is AirPods Max 2. Now there's 3 settings to test here. There's automatic, standard and voice isolation. This is automatic. This is standard, which you choose by going into the control center and changing it there. And this is full-on voice isolation. The wind has really picked up now. Straight away though, guys, the transparency mode is so much better on these. It's really windy. This is a proper test for these headphones. Let me know what you think in the comments, and back to me in the studio. Time for my conclusion. The AirPods Max 2 are the best pair of AirPods Max we've ever had, obviously. They do sound a lot better than the previous generation, and if you have the previous generation, you should upgrade. I think it's an utter no-brainer. If you have the USB-C version, and you've bought them fairly recently, I wouldn't spend more money. It's not worth doing that. Unless you want those smarts, you want the shaky head thing, the noddy head thing to say yes and no to telephone calls and stuff. And if you want the other things that I listed at the start of this video that are specific to that H2 chip. We now have a pair of AirPods Max which are finally in line with the AirPods Pro. That's very important, but it's not a reason necessarily to upgrade from the USB-C edition. It is definitely a reason to go from these to these though. If you've got the first gen and you like them, these are much, much better. Yes, it would have been nice to have a cheaper price tag, but to do that, they would have had to reduce the quality of these. So, we'd have plastic, we'd have things going on which Apple does not like, and I kind of understand why they've stuck with that. However, there are other headphones on the market, and what I want to hear from you now is which ones do you want me to compare the AirPods Max 2 against? Get involved down below and just let me know what you think about these headphones. I'll get involved as well, and if you haven't hit that subscribe button, wherever it is, you know what to do.